Oh, hello everyone. We're back to the cartoon pad, and I'm here with my co-host Michael Shaw,
Hi, Bob.
and with our trusty producer Marty.
Hello.
Hi,
Very
Marty.
excited about tonight's episode. We can only go up now from last week. Feeling good.
The good news, Bob,
Yeah.
is you wanted me to go to rehab, so I'm going to go. Thank you.
Okay, good. We're all glad to hear that. There was some fan mail about that this week. So,
Do go on.
yeah, people care, Michael.
Do people care? Do they? That's nice.
And we do have a question for tonight's guest. We have a really great guest for tonight. I'm looking forward to. So, yeah, if you want to, let's dive right in.
I have a fan mail
From some flounder.
from cartoonist Chris. Oh, God, I should have done that. I should have checked how to say the last name before deciding to be such a big shot.
Is it
Chris-
Kringle?
Chris Gural, Gural.
Oh, that's pronounced.
Anyway, Chris, listened to this on the way home yesterday. Thanks for the podcast. It's been instrumental for me starting out at cartooning. I've learned a whole bunch from Bob and you and all the guests. I also learned about the gag recap through the podcast, which helped me sell my first cartoon. Can't wait for the next one. Very nice.
Congratulations, Chris. for
Very
getting a sale.
nice. Thank you, Chris.
Wonderful. Great.
Great.
Michael, let's do
Yes, sir.
just some house cleaning before we do the
Sure.
intro for our guests. Do you have any news? Any apologies?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm just gonna lay back, gonna take it as it comes, one day at a time, sweet Jesus. And we're gonna move on from here, because as Dean Martin once told us, you can't fall off the floor.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea that we
Oh,
deal
that's-
with the legal
I love
problems
that.
off,
Isn't it
Excuse
off
me.
air.
Those were the White Castles I had for lunch.
Oh boy, I knew that
Oh
was
boy.
something was tooting.
Yeah, let's deal with that legal problem we have off air. I agree.
Thank you.
Let's do a little intro though for our guest. Marty, you agree?
Yeah. Do you want her to be able to hear the fantastic intro you're going to do?
Yeah, maybe we should. We did have a question from a fan for her, so which is really nice. It's a cartoonist, Marty, that you know, Jim Schuenbill.
Shoe and Bill, yeah, he's very funny.
He's very good.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm a fan of his work, and he was kind enough to submit a question for tonight. And he's a fan of Allie, so that's nice. She's really good. She's been really doing very well lately, and also
She's a very nice person. I met her first at the first Satire and Humor Festival at the Friday night mixer that they had. I think that was in 2019. 2019, I believe, was the Satire and Humor Festival. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
now mixers are called
I
super
remember
spreaders.
it was a thing,
Good.
and we did a thing, and I shared a cab with Ellis Rosen down at the 110 Wall Street Weekly Humorist office, where I had done a live podcast, and then we got into the cab and we went up to wherever this mixer was, and it was energetic excitement of all these artists and humor people getting together for the first time, and I met Allie there with some other folks. I can't remember. It was a bunch of people who were all, because everybody hadn't met in real life before. So much of the cartoonists and the writers, people rarely meet in real life, and then when they do, they have a great time.
Yeah.
I'm excited to one day I'm going to meet Michael Shaw.
No one's ever meeting me.
I'm going to reach out and touch that.
The only way you're going to beat me is if it's an open coffin. So
Michael, a lot of people are fighting over my couch who are coming in from the Midwest for the New Yorker party. That's at the end of this month. And people are flying in from everywhere to be a part of that.
Did you get invited to the New Yorker party, Shaw?
I'm waiting. Mr. Radnick, Emma, if you're listening, I will RSVP.
No, I think that there was a mass email and you were on it. You were
I don't
invited.
go to mass, so
It was a mass
sorry.
hole email.
Yeah, you probably look in your junk box underneath like insurance rates going up and everything else going up.
Oh. The ED.
Yeah, just double
The
check.
ED. Everybody, you know, it's interesting. The amount of people that everybody gets these ED emails. Now it seems like everybody gets the crooked banana emails. Everybody's like the whole bent banana email.
Yes,
emails.
At our age, Bob and I are just keeping a wary eye on our prostate.
I have a chart.
Yes, it is a cannon facing back at us.
Yeah. You know, I don't get that stuff anymore since I changed my email address. I changed it to a Gmail address. And then
most things in the
Bob is
Gmail,
frozen. He's going to say he changed it to his Gmail address, and that's
but
now his
I agree with
G-spot.
what he has to
Thank
say
you.
is if you have a Gmail is great at filtering out so much stuff. They filter out so much stuff. And then every now and then you go in and you check the Gmail and it is filled, like the spam is filled with so much garbage. You're just like,
Yes.
oh my God, who's sending me all this horrible stuff? I have to get out of this inbox immediately. And I switch back to the main inbox. It's like a horror show.
Or I like my focused email, which is still not focused.
Yeah.
What
Always
does my
unfocused.
email look like unfocused? I wonder.
I don't know. I don't know.
Bob has left the podcast, by the way. Oh, there
He'll
he
be
goes.
back.
That's that prostate thing, I tell you.
Yeah.
When it calls, you answer.
Bobby,
Hi, Bob.
Bobby, you ready for Allie?
Come on, Bob.
we're ready. We're ready. Let's go.
All right. Entering Allie Solomon.
Okay.
Hey.
It's Allie, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, Allie. Well, hello, Allie.
Bob has
Come on, Bob, take it.
Bob has an intro.
Yeah,
Bob is
Allie,
going to
great-
make such
great to see
verbal
you
love
join
to
us.
you right now.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Oh no, it's great to have someone else to talk to besides Michael. We tried that last week. It was a train wreck.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Train
well,
wrecks are
let's-
quite exciting, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh,
and-
people can't look away.
I know. And a dumpster fire on top of that.
You sound
I,
great.
I promise to behave, though, Allie, on your behalf, because we have a lot in common, more than you might think.
Do we?
Yes. Go, Bob.
I don't think so,
Teaser.
but
Why is everyone shaking their head furiously?
Because they know what's okay.
well, right off the
Go, Bob.
bat, the intro is already dividing you guys because Allie, you're a very accomplished humorist who's been published hundreds of times, including in McSweeney's and the New Yorker over 50 times. Your cartoons have appeared everywhere and regularly in Airmail, the New Yorker, and even Marty's Weekly Humorist. And you have a new book, I Lovish New York City, which I've been reading and I love it. I lovish. It's very funny. You're very, very funny. You're also very nice. We've met a long time ago. And the one thing that stood out when I met you was how nice you are. So I'm really glad you came on the show.
Thank you so much.
So,
I
So if you-
not to ruin that.
So if you're so nice, how the hell are you from New York? Let's get that out of the way.
I don't know. Maybe I was born in the Midwest and I don't know it.
You might be a
No,
Midwesterner and not know it.
my accent says Long Island. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it sounds kind of Wisconsin there, you know.
Well, if you eat enough cheese, it helps.
Yeah, I've eaten plenty of cheese. Do you like cheese?
Am I human? Yes.
Oh, I like you already.
Yay.
You're okay.
yeah, Queens is just amazing for food. I've been going through Queens bit by bit. And and you yourself, do you have any favorite places within Queens? I know you spent some time there.
Yeah, we lived there for about 15 years. It's funny thing about Queens though, like the restaurants, you immediately forget their names. You're always like, I love that Thai place on 49th. And that becomes your association with it. Or, you know, that wine bar that we pass when we go to the queue. You know, these are the things that you think about. But I love that neighborhood so much.
Now, are you going back to Queens to teach? Because you're juggling different things. You're not just a cartoonist and writing humor, but you're also teaching, right?
I am. I'm a middle school art teacher at a public school in Manhattan.
Oh,
So-
well,
You know, Bob,
I know, I
I'm gonna-
know.
thank you.
No,
Thank you, everyone.
no.
So I have to say that anything sadder than that was the fact that I too was once a public middle school art teacher in the city of St.
Oh.
Louis.
Is this what we have in common?
This is what we have in common.
Oh, look
it
at
ends
that.
there.
Nothing else. And when I did my practicum, and this is true, the title was "Those Who Can't Do Teach,"
Oof.
and those who can't teach art.
Oh, wow. My
Yeah.
mom is so proud to hear that.
Yes, thank
No,
you.
that's not how the saying goes. The saying goes, those who can't teach Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh.
That's a Woody Allen quote from a movie.
We all have bumper stickers of that on our mugs and stuff that we
Art is wonderful in schools. I
Yeah.
had the best school teacher art classes in elementary school and in middle school and in high school, mostly because by the time you got to high school art, some of those were the teachers that were the least strict and the most relaxed with your time and your projects, and like it was almost like a free period, but you had to do something artsy. So like you had a project and you were doing stuff, but like it was sort of like you picked your own project at that point. I feel like maybe
Yeah.
at some level of high school art, that's where it was.
So, Allie, how long have you been teaching? I want to know.
Oof, this is my 21st year.
Holy
I know.
schmoly, you are stuck. You can't leave.
I can't. I'm in it to win it.
Yeah,
Holy
Ali,
moly.
I teach and I actually don't like it.
Well,
I don't think
I've
that's an uncommon statement.
I've been teaching on and off since 85.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I got burnt out somewhere along the middle.
But
And
you're
I'm-
teaching college level, aren't you? Aren't you doing college level classes, Bob?
yeah,
I
Bob,
taught
that's
at-
not real teaching.
I taught
No,
at Pratt.
it
That's not
should
real.
be.
You
It
know,
should be
face-
easier by then, don't you
Yeah,
think?
face a classroom of eighth graders at 8:30 in the morning and get back to us.
Well, no, I taught at Pratt and then at School of Visual Arts
wow.
for like 20 years. And you see change. You see the students, the type of student you have is so different. And it changed the whole dynamic of teaching. And I don't know if you're affected at the age group that you're teaching them, because it's at an age that's really fun because they're not yet set in certain ruts. They don't have certain demands. Like, for instance, my students demand an A.
Mm.
They want an A. If they don't get an A, they raise a stink about it. I'll hear from them out of class and stuff like that, because everything at that level is your grade average.
Oh, sure. But it's the same. I teach on the Upper East Side, so their parents are demanding the A as opposed to them. They have a proxy to do it for them.
Well, I assume
Bob,
that you
Bob,
love teaching
Bob,
for the
wait, Bob.
crazy parents.
Middle school is hormonal chaos.
Yeah,
You wade into this cesspool of just chemical craziness.
Well, they
And
used
it's not
to-
their fault.
Middle school was always the weirdest age growing up because you knew how bad the kids were because they had to make a separate schoolhouse that was just 7th and 8th grade, at least with me growing up. Elementary school went to 6th grade, and then from just 7th and
Yes.
8th grade, they had a special gigantic brick building just to have those students. And then after they got out of that mess, then they had to be freshmen in high school, whole different dynamic. But the 7th and 8th graders are such terrible monsters of emotional,
All right, we need Allie to-
chemical change, and there's so much weird junk going on in your mind that they had to put them in a separate little building. And
No,
I'm
I
surprised anybody got out of there. You know,
I
like,
think Allie is beloved by her students.
Yeah, I'm sure Allie's a very favorite teacher. You're getting apples. You're getting love notes for Valentine's. You're a favorite. Or tell us in your own words.
I think it depends on the day. I find like the messier the project, the better behaved they are. I try to teach them like drawing and still lifes, and I actually had a kid once urinate on my still life. That's how much they love drawing still lifes.
A young
what?
Dadaist.
In the class?
No, I wasn't looking at the time. Like I came
Oh,
back
okay.
and I found all of my still life objects in the urinal in the boys' bathroom.
Oh,
So I was like, oh, I guess they don't like still life.
that's a very middle school
Oh,
thing
apples
to do.
apples with urine.
That's a.
Mm.
So I was like, maybe paper mache would be better. I don't know.
I love how you're laughing and smiling throughout that story. Like
Good times.
what you're saying, in other words, is that drugs help.
What are some of the projects that you do as part of the curriculum of your class for middle school art projects? Is it, I remember doing like a paper mache hand at some point. We
Cool.
did something like that. I can't remember what we did in middle school. What do you do? You do like still life, like drawing from life?
I've ditched still life since the pee incident. So I try to, I feel like the more whimsy and weirdness I bring, like the more they're into it. If I try to bring too many skills, they get a little.
Do you do sculpting with clay and stuff?
I do. We're actually doing a plaster mask making project where they had to create alter egos for themselves.
Oh,
Like,
that's
we
very
should all do
cool.
that.
That's
no,
a
we
great
gotta do that
project.
ourselves.
I did
Let's all
that-
jump in.
I did that in college. That was actually a college level. What that lesson was a Syracuse University for sophomore illustration project.
Oh wow.
So
That's
you're
pretty
way ahead of the
Yep.
curve right there. Those kids are getting much better education.
So I
You're
have to
getting-
say, after 23 years, have you had anyone come back as a tremendously successful artist?
I don't know that they've come back as
Well, not
I've-
tremendously successful, but
I've had a lot of kids like go on and pursue art in college, which is really exciting.
That's
good.
wonderful.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
A lot of them got really into art history because I try to teach a little bit of art history there. And so they'll come back and they like to share if they've done that. So
Did
but
your
I haven't
student-
had, like Picasso's grandson come back and be like, "You changed me. It was all
Did-
because of you."
Does your students, are they aware of your cartoon career? Do they see your work or know even how funny you are in the class?
I mean, they see my nonsense that I bring into the class. I want to say most of them are more or less aware and are utterly, utterly unimpressed.
Oh, that's nice.
I was like, I do cartoons, and they're like, yeah, do you do Spider-Man? I'm like, no,
Yes.
no, not Spider. And they're like, okay, do you do this manga? And I'm like, no. And they're like, okay, then.
Yeah.
Like
Over.
they use old issues of the New Yorker as paint palettes right now.
But you had a comic
You know
strip.
what's in that? And they're like, blue paint. So it's a tough crowd.
It's a tough crowd. They're not impressed by very much.
No.
No.
And then in the New Yorker, it's like they always kind of pepper the cartoons in between like really long, boring articles. That's where they get to put your stuff. So at least you get to spice up those pages.
Yes, Bob's last cartoon was in the middle of a 17-page essay on the history of the soybean. It was beautiful.
Oh.
That was negotiated with Remnick. We went back and forth and we discussed where to put my cartoon, and he caved, and that's where we put it.
Was this the snowman one?
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
You didn't
I-
negotiate where it was
Yeah, I
in the
tell them-
magazine.
no,
What are you
I tell
talking
them-
about? Is
I
that
tell them
true?
where it goes. I tell them where to put the cartoons, which ones to select. I have a lot of pull.
Can you tell him to put more of mine in?
We've discussed you. You
He's
come up in
making all
meetings.
this up.
See if you can, pull a few strings. I'd like to be in a soybean article someday.
I'm giving George Santos a run for his money right now.
There we go.
Allie, a lot of people want to know how you did make the segue from being a teacher. You have a full schedule. I can appreciate how full your day is. You come home, you're exhausted. I know you're probably yelling at the husband. You're hitting the kids. You've had enough. How do you then turn it on to be funny? And then you're producing not just the cartoons, but I've never seen someone who had so many written, published pieces in such a short time. As I was going through all your old published pieces, it's a lot of work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, when you eliminate sleep from the equation, there's so many hours in the day. Like it really just doubles your work time.
Are you
And-
working while you commute? Like, give us an idea
I
of your
have
process.
to now. I'm sure like a lot of cartoonists have that. They have like their notepad on their phone where they jot all their ideas whenever they come to them. Yeah, I
And
used to
what-
keep those moleskin notebooks, but my daughter started using them as drawing pads.
So what would be your way of keeping track of your ideas? Like, give us an idea of like how you would do a week's worth of batch of cartoons. How you sort of make it from just a little idea somewhere to actually turning it in?
So I have this running list in the notepad. So anytime something funny comes up in life, that's like I hear a funny exchange between somebody, or I think of a horrific pun which no one will ever publish, but still you have to write it down. And you just write down anything, even if it's just a funny phrase. And then sometimes I'll just go through the list just to see what I have, and half of them I'm like, that's not even a coherent sentence. What was I thinking? I'm not sure what that is. And then sometimes you'll be like, yes, bats on a subway. That's going to be gold. And so usually I sit down Friday evenings, or, sometime during the weekend. I try to make all the sketches, and I'll look through my list and try to see if there's anything usable.
And are your sketches
you-
pretty close to the finishes, or are they kind of sloppy and rough?
I mean, they're sloppy at first, and then I try to clean things up as I ink. I'm both, I guess, lazy and also unnecessarily complicated when I draw.
Wow. So, Allie, have you submitted Bats on a Subway yet?
I'm saving that. I'm keeping that in my back pocket.
I'm writing it down.
Bats on the subway. There's just too many.
That's a great idea for a cartoon.
I know. Let's
Well, it
all
could be-
submit it.
It could be bats in the subway, and the person could be totally unfazed. And you're like, that's not even the worst possible thing on this train. That's only the 5th worst thing on this train right now.
Exactly.
It's
You
all
can have
good.
like
This
a
is
mom
gold.
pulling her kid away and be like, he's just gonna buy junk.
So, are you a morning? Well, so middle school. When's your day start?
Oh, you really want to know?
Yeah.
I get up at a little before 6.
Okay.
And I try to spend some time with my kids, and then I commute for an hour and a half.
Holy crap!
Right?
Hour and
I
a
know.
half.
It is unpleasant, but at least it's long. So
That sounds like an evening with Bob.
We could cut that out later.
Oh yeah, sure.
edit and post.
That-
Uh-huh.
And I get to work usually around 8ish, and then they just dive right in.
Okay, let's talk about this ishish thing. That's ours.
Oh, you
Elements of stress and the pursuit of happiness ish.
Is that the book?
That's the book.
I don't think that's the book.
Not I love-ish.
It's
No.
close enough, Marty. Give
It's
him a
close
break.
enough.
No, hers is totally different, and hers is
It's
much.
the ish.
Hers is much shorter and easier to remember, so I think she
And-
wins.
More popular.
Our
And
book is
sold
better.
more and
No, our
funnier.
book is better. Ours is funnier and better in other ways, but
Well,
yeah.
I have to say,
What other way?
Allie, I have read 18% of your book because that's all Amazon would let me read.
Can you buy it already, man?
No,
I know,
you could
right?
read-
Come on,
you-
guys.
You could read 18% of it.
Well, I'm
It
prepared to
tells
give
you.
a review.
But
I
is
can
it
give.
good 18%? I could have some gems in that other percent.
Yeah.
You're
Yes,
missing
but-
out.
No, I can give a
Oh.
review. I saw the book and I think it's great. It is very funny. And, immediately I was impressed by how much you're cranking out the jokes. You're really, it's consistently good. You carry all the different
you.
categories that I would want to read about as a New Yorker. I highly recommend it to anyone who has had any experience with New York City, whether you went through it, you lived in there, or you thought about one time moving there.
Thank you.
So congratulations.
Can I write that all down and put it on a blurb?
Please. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm giving you a blurb for your Amazon page. My publisher would be happy to have you use it because we share the same publisher, Chronicle Books.
Oh, get out. I didn't realize you guys were Chronicle too.
Well, he isn't. I
I'm
am.
not. Bob is.
I am. Chronicle wouldn't have Michael. They spit him out.
All right.
But as I do want to say, Bob's latest book, How to Name Your Cat Harry Styles, actually worked very well because this is my new cat, Harry Styles, everyone.
Aww.
Hi, Harry.
I feel like he should be wearing a sparkly jumpsuit or something.
Yes, I thought there was going to be a fight between Jill Biden and Harry Styles because they wore the same outfit.
Well, who wore it better?
Oh, I'm not going there, but
I think we all
Ellie,
know this is our
Ellie, I
question.
don't know if you realize, as we were joking before, that me and Michael wrote a book together.
yeah, we know
Elements of
that.
Stress. So that's confusion there. But-
depending on what you mean by right.
We know.
Right. But what we're going to do is we've already talked about this and we just have to tell you, you're going to do your next book with Michael.
Are we
Oh, my.
rotating in combinations of two?
Well, yeah, I think so. It helps. What do
Okay.
you have another book in mind? Do you have something you've been working on?
I feel like after pumping out 2 books in a year and a half, I felt like I needed a little breather in between.
Are they like kids?
No, well, kids are less stressful because
You have
I
Yeah.
mental
birth
you have
them
mental
to come
stretch
down.
marks now.
Your
Right.
previous book with Janina Net was I Am Why Do I Need Venmo Years Old,
That's right.
which was a really funny book that started out, I think, as a McSweeney's piece.
It did. Good
And then
read.
you expanded all that to a nice big book. And that book, I remember that book came out. I think I have that book
Oh, sweet.
somewhere in my. I have
And
it
Natalie,
in
that
my-
was one of the questions
my little
someone
bookshelf
wrote
here.
in was how did you make the segue from being a cartoonist to getting a book deal? A lot of cartoonists would love, that's their dreams to do a book. Was there a path that you took and some advice you can give to people who are aspiring writers?
I feel like the first book sort of came from a short humor piece that I had written with a friend of mine, and it sort of took on a life of its own. And once it started gaining in popularity, you start thinking, can this be bigger than what it is? Can it be larger? But I feel like a lot of book ideas start as something smaller, and then
Does someone come to you and suggest that this idea, let's say the piece you're referring to is maybe it was McSweeney's or something. Does someone come to you and suggest you think about turning into a book, or was that your decision, thinking that this was an idea you could expand on?
I think it was just, we had so much fun writing the piece, the first book, the McSweeney, the one based off McSweeney's book piece. And, when it started getting popularity, we were tossing around the idea of like maybe writing a second piece or a sequel or something like that. And we had so many little idiosyncrasies of aging that were like, well, this could maybe be a book. And so we explored whether it had been done before. And then I reached out to my agent and we did a formal pitch to her to see if she thought it had legs. And she got very excited about it because, she's like the same age as us and we're all kind of going through the motions together. And when we shopped it around, there was a biter.
Oh, well, see, now you said the key word there. You have an agent.
Oh, agent.
So that's something, cartoonists are always wondering, how is that mysterious place where you get from one thing to another? So in your case, how did you find an agent before you had a book?
Well, it started actually when I had my first daughter. And, I was like trapped at home and I was a little bored. Well, it's boring. Being a new mom is boring. And so I would write little humor bits and just post them to Facebook. And, grandma is like, that's so funny. You should have a book. And so I
So
started.
your grandmother's an agent. That's interesting.
I know that would be very convenient.
Crazy.
Did you get Michael into Chronicle?
It's one of those Nepo things that they had at the Vanity Fair that everyone was so mad about.
Oh, one of those Nepo babies.
Oh, those Nepo babies.
You know how they are.
So you got an agent somehow.
So I pitched around this parenting humor book I was going to do that was right at the height of every celebrity under the sun doing a parenting humor book. And so I ended up finding an agent through that because I had done some freelance work for a publishing company and I was given like some people who might be interested, basically. And
Oh,
so
good. Yeah.
my agent seemed like the best fit and she was very on board. She had just had a baby, so she was sort of going through it too. And the book went nowhere. We worked on it for a year and a half, pitched it everywhere, and everyone's like, "Are you famous?" I'm like, "I'm not." And they're like,
But this book would get me there. If I had a book, I'd be famous. It's like a chicken and an egg situation.
Let's back up even more to your origin story with the New Yorker. How did you manage to crack that egg?
Oh gosh. Well, there's 2 versions of that story.
Oh, do go on.
Tell us the false one.
Well, I'll take you back in time. Picture it, 2002, right after 9/11, because that's 2001. And I had gotten a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of my parents, who's also a friend but barely knew me, was the assistant to Bob Mankoff. And they're like, we do internships at the New Yorker. And I'm like, how do I apply? And so I came in with my power suit and my portfolio of crappy doodles. And so of course, the assistant editor shows up. He's wearing like ripped jeans and a t-shirt and looking at me like, you were in the wrong place. But he basically brought me on as an intern. And so I got to kind of see the inner workings way back then.
Was that Andy Friedman?
That was Andy Freeman, and then
Oh,
Marshall Hopkins.
Larry Hat.
And he's really great.
No, what a little bit of trivia is Andy Friedman's only cartoons in the New Yorker were under the pseudonym Larry Hat.
That's right.
Yep.
So go look those up.
Oh, I've seen them all. He's
They are
really talented.
Andy then went on to be an illustrator, unfortunately, because I thought he was a really good cartoonist.
his cartooning style reminded me of like he was trying to draw while someone was trying to take the piece of paper away.
That's funny. I like
And
that.
it was like, give it back, give it back, give it back. I'm not done. Okay, I'm done. Take it.
He has these baseball watercolors now that are just knock your socks off.
Allie, this is what we do on the show, though. We go on the tangents and we disappear. But going back to you, so you got an intern there. You actually went and got a
Yeah, I
gig
went
there.
and
Wow.
my job initially was they had this gigantic stack of, submissions, and no one wanted to open them because that was right when the anthrax thing went down.
Sure.
And so they're like, well, we have an intern now. She can do that.
They made
God.
you do that.
Did they use the beloved term slush pile?
They didn't even they were just like this stack. And then they give me a bunch of form letters. And
Stack of shit.
And it was so
You're the
weird.
person giving out form letters.
I got a few of
God,
those.
remember those days?
Yeah, it's amazing. Allie sent all of the rejections. She handwrote rejections to Shaw. It's the
No,
only
you would
mail
only
that
get-
Shaw would get.
You guys have
You
been
get
pen
the-
pals for years.
You'd get the little pamphlet that says thanks for sending the editors, and then there'd be like a schmick, like a little dot thing. That was you, wasn't it?
That's what
God,
you
I hate you now.
Anthrax. You're gonna mail me anthrax. You're gonna get that crappy form letter.
Yes.
So,
Anthrax
Allie,
is delicious, by the way.
So back
Well,
then, so everything was submitted as a hard copy to the New Yorker back then. So you actually had to go through stacks of like hand-drawn cartoons.
Oh yeah.
Did you
I mean, it was
learn a
all like
lot?
photocopies.
Did you learn from all of that? That was like a master class in a way, or not really?
It was fascinating. Like it was actually when they were first starting to get the database going. And so I had to
Oh,
like
wow.
enter things into the database and code things under like different keywords. And just looking at all these phenomenal cartoonists that I knew from other avenues, like all the newspaper cartoonists submitting these batches that I think are hysterical. But I had to sort of learn, form letter. And I was like, wait, no, we can't send this person a form letter. They're God. And it's interesting.
So I have to ask, were you the only person looking at these, or were they handing these to you as like, here's a stack we're not going to look at this week? You just send them thanks, but no thanks.
Well, they told me to put aside my 5 favorites and my 5 least favorites.
So you were screwing me over even then.
No, I picked you in the least favorites. It was great. That was
Okay.
your
Ali, why would you select
I
the
feel better
worst
now.
5? What? why would they
because
why?
he said sometimes like the offbeat and like the weird and the quirky things that don't fit in a box, sometimes that's where like the best ideas come from.
And you were working with Mr. M at this time?
This
Ma-
was
Is this Mankoff?
Yes.
Are we
Boy,
not
he
allowed
was
to
in
say
the-
his name? Is it like he who will not be named or something?
Yes.
What's wrong with saying Mankoff? He's a pretty famous guy.
Mankoff in 2000 was in pure Mancoffian form at that time. How did you deal with him?
Honestly, I mostly interacted with Andy Freeman and Marshall Hopkins. Like I didn't really. I think I met him a couple of times. He called me Abby a lot.
Yes. Your job is to keep her away from me.
And since then, I've gotten to know him now, and I don't think he has any recollection that I was ever there. But
Oh,
he's
that's nice.
great now. It's very different.
He's
Well, I
like
have to say-
he's like Abby. Your books are great. Congratulations.
I have to say, back then I was copywriting for Bob and for the Cartoon Bank.
Mhm.
And I completely wrote this beautiful catalog for the Cartoon Bank.
Oh, nice.
Yes, with Bob. And he said, Michael, we really like your work. Never, ever, ever move to New York. I said, okay, Bob.
Why?
But why, Michael? Why did he say that?
Because he didn't want me to ruin New York for the rest of you.
Oh,
I
was
think
there.
I
You
think
were
your
from
out of New York sensibilities made your cartoons that offbeat pile that
That's right. I
Allie
was from the
was talking about.
Thurber-esque,
Marty, that
from
was
the
nice.
They were like
Thurber-esque
on
Midwest School of Cartooning. So that's where I stayed.
See, that's where we pay so much for our producer. You see how we smooth things out like that so well? That was sweet. That was
Yeah.
a really nice moment for the show.
We call it the offbeat pile instead of the rejection collection these days. That's what
So now, so Allie,
Diffie could call the rejection collection. The next sequel could be called the offbeat pile.
so Allie, you did that, but then were you actually creating cartoons at that time, or you were just where were you in your career personally?
I had just graduated college. I was studying to be a teacher because I wasn't really sure where I was going, but I knew cartooning had to be a part of it. But my eye was always set on syndicated comics. Like I love doing comic strips. That was ever since I was a kid.
You wanted to do Kathy.
Oh, no one can be Kathy. Kathy, it's so
But
funny.
Kathy dissed me. We were supposed to be talking to each other. She dissed me.
Oh,
I am very disappointed with Kathy.
Ack, tell me.
Ack.
Yep.
I thought it was Ack.
No, it's Ack.
Yeah,
It's
we were
not
supposed to be
Australian. Come on.
talking about some things, some work and stuff, and she totally ghosted me.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah, if she hears this now, I hope it stings a little bit.
Oh, there we go.
That's a whole sub podcast where it's just Bob complaining about people who have wronged him. That's
Well, no, we have done that. And you
We're going to
won't
be here
hear
for the
it.
rest of the night, folks.
it's an offshoot podcast. It's a little spin-off
And
project
I've
where
asked
it's
you just to air that, even though it runs over 3 hours. I
Bob's
told you just
Booze.
to run it.
Can we call it the deadbeat pile?
deadbeat
God.
pile. Yeah.
You're on
Al-
Bob's
Allie-
list now.
Allie, that is not true. Don't listen to Michael. He's a troublemaker. Allie, who were your cartoon gods at that time? Were there people who you were kind of, whether they're cartoonists or humorists, maybe they were stand-ups because you do so much, it's like write out jokes. Who was your influences?
Oh gosh. Like if you go way back, like it's whatever your parents expose you to. So my parents were very into like Sid Caesar, Your Show of Shows. My dad introduced me to Monty Python. Mel Brooks. I watched a lot of that. All that stuff. Dick Van Dyke Show. I grew up with all of that, so I had sort of like that, sort of like the sketch humor was very much ingrained in me.
So where'd you go to college?
I went to Cornell. and I did
Cornell. So
lots
you
of
were
art. Oh, God.
you were in the college newspaper with the comic strip.
I was. Yeah. How did you know that?
Because I did the same thing.
Awesome.
You two, separated
on.
at birth.
What was the name of your strip?
I called it The Living End.
The Living End.
Oh my God, Allie, you got to write a book with Michael. Enough already. This is
What's funny
it.
is my comic strip was called Allie and Zooey,
Yeah.
Oh,
and it was about a possum and an alley cat that one wanted to get into the zoo and one wanted to have a life of freedom.
Oh God.
And it was this delightful interplay that no one cared about except me. And it was a fabulous homage to Pogo meets Crazy Cat.
I'm so surprised that didn't take off.
Oh yeah, so am I. It's hurt me to this day. So what was your comic strip?
it was about college life, but very surreal.
Oh my.
And, it was more like, if you wronged me, I would put you in it. No, that was not.
It's very funny that you said that because I had I went to Syracuse for illustration, and there was a girl in my major who did a comic strip for the Daily Orange, which was the newspaper. And she similarly it was kind of like college life, but she had a habit of featuring people that had wronged her in the comic strip often. And there was one guy that I think she dated and maybe he dumped her or something. And she had a whole fictitious storyline where she killed, died.
She killed him?
He got killed in this comic
Oh,
strip.
God.
That's cool.
Something terrible happened to him. And I was like, oh, and he was like, oh my God, she killed me in the newspaper comic.
Marty, did you do your school comics? Did you
No. I didn't do school comics. I did in high school. I was the art director of the high school newspaper, the Severna Park Talon, and we were the Falcons for the mascot.
Oh my.
And I was the art director of that for 4 years. I was a newspaper nerd in high school, and I did an editorial cartoon every issue that I would routinely get in trouble, and I would get sent to the office, and I got called down,
Oh,
and I had quite a loud mouth, and I would make fun of the man often, and I was always it was fun though. I had a great time. It was a lot of work. And then I did in college I did radio on the side for fun.
Allie, I tried to get into my school paper, And
What
throughout the
happened?
4 years, this guy beat me out, who is now a cartoonist for the Wall Street Journal. He
Oh.
signs his name Rice. And I don't see him anywhere but the Wall Street Journal. But he was the guy who kept me from doing anything in the school paper. And then I just
How
couldn't
did
get
he?
published.
How did he keep you?
Yeah,
from
I
being
like
in the
that.
school paper. How
He's
could
on
this?
He
Bob's
kept me.
list.
How
He
did
kept
one
me.
guy keep you from being
He
in a
kept
school
me
paper?
from getting in the paper. The editor said, "We have a cartoonist. We don't need you."
You got Bob
No.
bald.
Yeah, and I was actually doing cartoons at the same time for Spy magazine, but I
Ooh,
couldn't get into my school paper.
that's very
That's that is quite sad.
Yeah, you would have gotten paid more.
For the school paper or for Spy?
Yes. No, for the school paper.
You got paid for your school paper?
I could
No.
use a good cry right now.
Sounds
So,
like it.
Allie,
Wow.
I'm going to get this back on task, please. Did you
Mhm.
try to syndicate your strip?
I did. I tried syndicating a billion times, but the more I tried, the more newspapers kept dying and
Yes.
shrinking. So my timing was way off. By the time I graduated, there was like 2 newspapers, and
Yes.
You know, I heard that they adapted your comic strip into a streaming show on HBO Max. It's called The Secret Lives of College Girls. And, it's just like the Cornell strip, I think.
oh, it's 100%.
I assume. Yeah.
Except just like replace the sex with like people battling monsters or falling asleep in floors.
Oh, by the way, I couldn't get through 5 minutes of that show. I disliked it very much.
That does not surprise me. You seem to dislike everything recently, Bob. I haven't watched either. It seems too cool and exciting for me. So I need to ease into watching something about hip college people.
I did watch it.
Is it good?
I mean, it's good, but I'm watching this whole thing. I was like, well, this is fantasy.
Yeah.
They do. They
Not
they
like
do have.
any other college experience.
They do have a lot of energy. I will give them that.
Mike likes their energy.
Yes.
They don't wear hoodies and sweatpants nearly enough.
I used to live in not wearing real clothes in college. I don't think people put on clothes until your parents visited for Parents' Weekend, and you had to look like you were an adult, sort of, not just living in your pajamas and wearing slippers down to the little store in your dorm. I would never
I
leave.
feel like there was extremes. Like I would go from wearing, bunny slippers and pajamas, and then suddenly I'd be wearing a formal ball gown.
Yeah, because they would have things to go to. Yeah, and you
Me
were in
too.
Cornell, and and Shaw's always freezing because he lives in Wisconsin.
There
But
you
up
go.
at-
I got to keep my toque on.
I was up at Syracuse, and I had friends that had relationships with people at Cornell, so they were like, "That's not too far away from Cornell."
Oh, yeah, we used to
in
go to the
Syracuse.
Carousel Mall.
The Carousel Mall. That's right. They even made it bigger. It was a big mall, and now it became like the biggest mall.
That's what it needed to be.
It needs
So
to be even
Bob,
bigger.
Bob, get us back on task. How did Allie get into the New Yorker? We need her origin story.
Well, yeah, and also
yeah.
you had to fit in your family life somewhere. I mean, curious to know if you started a family first or you started your career at the New Yorker. When you went back to Bob, did he remember you?
I never went back to Bob. It's
No.
funny, I submitted some cartoons, after my internship ended, and they sent me a very nice handwritten rejection. And I felt like I wasn't really in the gag mode. I was still in like comic strips are my dream. And then for a while it was graphic novels are my dream. And then I was like, yeah, I need something shorter. And so I had kids. And then I went to a Rubens with my husband. And it was like 3 a.m. We were super drunk. And we ran into Joe Dater and Lonnie Millsap, who both have no recollection of having met me. And so they're like, oh my God, I know, I love your work. And I'm like, they don't know my work. I haven't been published anywhere.
They're like, guys, it's Abby. It's Abby.
They're like, you should submit. You're so good. And I'm like, okay. How do I submit? They're like, just find Emma's email. It'll be great. And I'm like, okay. I thought you're supposed to submit through this online thing and this black hole where your comics go to die. And they're like, yeah. So I was like, okay. So I got back and I took, some of the ones I thought were my best. And I was like, here goes nothing. And I sent it to Emma and I heard nothing for a while. And then I guess she was away and she wrote back, these are good. Get on our list and, you could start submitting regularly.
So you didn't walk in. You didn't walk in large and in charge and said, I used to own this place. I'm back, bitches.
I was the shy intern in the back filing.
Oh, Lord.
It is a strange path you took because
Yes.
you didn't utilize your working for Bob, and the fact that you were rejecting Michael for like 15 years.
Yes, exactly. And I'm used to being rejected for 15 years. So don't worry about that. But that's like a span of what, 15 years of
Yeah. It
getting
took a really long time to figure out that
that's
I was
amazing.
accurate, you know?
How did your because you were exposed to the inner workings of gag cartoon acceptance and rejection, and you kind of got to see bad jokes and good jokes and the jokes that would get in, and then through that time to the time you got in, you got to kind of say, okay, this is how to write a New Yorker cartoon joke. How is the formula of writing a New Yorker cartoon joke different than the formula that you were doing when you first got out of school, and the way that you were doing cartoons and the way that you were writing humor, like punchlines? Like, what's the most important part of the cartoon that you do now? Do you say it has to be both the visual and the joke? Because sometimes it's just the joke when people submit things. Like it's like an image that could be any image, and then they have the kind of the punchline. But with the way you draw stuff, it's very involved with what the full joke is. So some of like the visual humor is there that's not part of the caption.
That's definitely something I've learned as I've gone through this. Like, they have to go together. Like, I sometimes try to recaption some of my jokes because I'm like married to the artwork and I'm not ready to let it, fall to waste.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because now I'm looking at a picture and trying to pull the humor out of like this picture that I have, even if it wasn't originally the picture I drew for that gag. So I think they have to go together in many ways.
So I'm gonna guess the idea comes first and then you noodle around with the image.
Although it's funny, one of the first cartoons I sold to the New Yorker was just a drawing that I thought would be funny, and then eventually I came up with a caption for it. That's definitely not the norm.
Yeah.
But your personal caption contest you did.
Because sometimes it's fun just to challenge it, see like, oh, can I come up with something for this? Most of the time the answer is no. But
And how many cartoons would you try to submit weekly? Do you do everything? Do you do a weekly submission?
I try to be really diligent because I'm scared if I take a week off or two, it's just going to kind of slide. Like, it won't become part of the routine. Because, sometimes I'm just so tired and I'm like so out of it. I'm like, I can't think of another joke, but I must. Because
I think you're looking at your drawings, they have a plausibility to them that my cartoons don't have, because you can actually kind of see this happening to real people. Because there's some cartoonists that sort of have they're in touch with reality at some level.
Some of them seem more autobiographical, whereas some of them
you can see them actually happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of put you in the Carolina Johnson
that's
realm.
an honor. Oh God, her stuff's so funny.
Yes, but I think you're in that genre, in that vein of cartooning. Well,
I'll take it.
You may have it. Well, Bob and I are in the silly shit.
Silly shit has its place, man.
Yeah.
I try for it, and sometimes it's a swing and a miss.
Oh yeah, I guess I never really noticed how there's certain artists that are always in almost like fantasy, complete make-believe land. Like Shaw, your stuff is usually like completely ridiculous. Like this isn't coming from anything in real life.
No.
And then Allie, your stuff might have been something that happened to you. Yeah.
No, but I think it's smart humor too. I want to say that Allie and Michael cartoon, there is a message. They are smart. Allie, from your book, I don't see how you would have trouble coming up with jokes. You're very prolific when it comes to coming up with jokes. So I don't see that as a problem. And I kind of say, when people say to me, well, people get lucky. It requires a lot of luck to get in. And I like to say, the more cartoons you do, the luckier you get. You make your own luck by creating the numbers in your favor. And I think that by doing lots of cartoons, that's what you're doing.
Thank you. That's
it's like a comedy muscle, right? It's like the more you guys do your batches.
Yeah.
But also, I think you become a flavor. So Allie is like the ACI of her cartooning genre.
It's really fancy.
ACI is hot right now. Or, your umami is what's being, that's what people want.
A1 acai? Is that
Yeah,
something?
no, you're the the base flavor of your cartoons is something that's being craved right now.
It's
For the same
relatable.
reason me and Michael are not
Yeah.
being
Hell yeah.
craved.
I mean,
It's just that's a very good observation, Sean, where people like her stuff in a way that they don't like your stuff
well,
right
that's what I
now.
was trying to get at in a way that didn't quite
Kale
sound like
smoothie
that.
of
That's funny.
different flavors for different folks. That's how it goes.
Well, Allie, we've kept you a long time. I want to say thank you. I want to know, do you have any book events coming up where you could announce and tell people where they could find your work and your book?
Well, I don't have any events coming immediately. I'm hoping to have some lined up in the spring, but I will definitely keep you posted. But the book is I Love Ish. There's that ish. New York City
Ish.
Tales of Life.
And what's your website? So when your events come up, people will learn when you do have some events. What's the best way to keep track of what you're up to?
Best way is to follow me on Instagram. I tend to post the most there.
Oh, good.
There's my cat's
It's
butt.
Allie,
by the way.
A-L-I, Solomon, Solomain. Because apparently Solomon was taken. There's too many Allie Solomons out there who are into art.
I'm going through your cartoon stock page, and I'm revisiting many Weekly Humorist cartoons that are on here. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Some of my favorite things I've ever drawn have been for you.
Thank you. You're great. It's so much fun getting your stuff. And there's this one that I don't know if it's been anywhere, but it says Man-Child Crossing, and it's a guy on like a razor scooter with like his hat backwards, and that definitely spoke to me personally. I'm like,
We've
hey,
all almost been hit by that guy.
that's me on a sign. I love it.
Aw.
So,
Mhm.
Allie, when's the next parent teachers conference?
Oh God, it's coming up. It's like
Okay.
I have to prepare
Yeah, and we have to let you go grade some papers.
papers.
So
I'm
again,
an
we
art
want to say
teacher.
thanks so
Yes.
much. It was great to see you.
What are the
you and-
different? Hold on, I have one last question. What are the different synonyms and adjectives you use to say that someone's child, instead of saying that they're terrible at art, what word do you use that's a coded word that means like they are very interesting?
I mean, I never try to allude that a kid's terrible at art. It's because no one's really bad at art unless they just don't do anything or all their drawings are penises. Like, and even then, sometimes I teach middle school. This is what happens.
Exactly.
Yes, he's like, he's got a lot of energy.
Yes.
That's-
Enthusiasm.
Have a little
Enthusiasm.
trouble.
That's good. Your
He
kid
likes
is.
he likes to draw what he wants to draw, even if it's not the assignment. Things like that.
It's very nice of you. You're a very nice teacher.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
You
Miss
share that with my
Solomon.
students? I don't know.
Well, let's keep in touch. Thanks so much. And I'm going to sign off and say thanks everyone for listening to the Cartoon Pad. Until next time. Let's start saying, Michael,
Wait, I always
we used
say
to have one.
thanks for your time this time till next time.
No, it was so let it be written, so let it be drawn.
Go forth and draw no more.
Yeah, we
This
haven't really
mess-
we have no sayings. Good night,
This
everyone.
mess is over.
And make sure you go pick up Allie's new book, I Love Ish NYC. Also, I am Why Do I Need Venmo years old with her and Janine Annette. Also, her cartoons appear in Send Help, the cartoon collection of Desert Island cartoons. Right?
Yeah.
We gotta give you the
job.
full. We
Good
gotta give you the
job,
full
Marty.
load.
I'm impressed.
What
Goodness.
do we need Bob for? Come on.
And you're in Very Funny Ladies, the New Yorker's women's cartoonists by
Why didn't
Liza
we get
Donnelly's
that,
book.
Bob?
Michael, where
Another
are
one
we?
of my inspirations.
Yeah, she's in all kinds of books. We got to give, and everyone should go to ally-solomon.com. That's where I've gone to get.
I'm
all
going
of
there
her.
right now.
Go
That's
there,
incredible.
follow her online.
In my head, I'm already there.
All
Allie,
right.
good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Allie.
So
This
much
was
for having
lovely.
me. This is fun.
Bye.
Bye-bye.